Hi everybody, this is Shawna Odette from the Flying Cat Academy. Welcome to lesson number 33. This is a review lesson. Before we set up the table today, let's have a quick assessment of where your student is at. You might have noticed in the background I always have this triangle. This is the reading pyramid. And you can see that phonemic awareness forms the base of the pyramid. Phonemic awareness is what we're working on when we're doing the phonemic awareness drill with these colored tiles. You'll notice there's no symbols on the tile. That's because we're working at the sound level. This idea that sounds can be pushed together or pulled apart to make words. Once we attach symbols to the sounds, and this is what we're doing in the blending drill when we have those letter tiles, paper letter tiles that we're working with, or when we're working with the magnetic letter tiles spread in a rainbow shape, then we're talking about decoding, which is what you'll think of as reading because there's symbols and we're working on the sounds attached to the symbols. By now, at this stage in the progression, the student might have sufficient proficiency with phonemic awareness to begin working on the third part of the reading pyramid, which is fluency. Fluency is a person's ability to read with speed, accuracy, and a natural expression. That speed is so critical. If you want your student to be able to read at a fast enough pace that it's going to feel like pleasure instead of work, then the student has to achieve fluency. The Orton-Gillingham method is designed to work on phonemic awareness and decoding. When it's time to work on fluency, that means that we need to add a new program into what we're doing, embedded into our lesson. So how do you do that? Well, let's take a minute to talk you through it. Let's look at a story from a previous lesson. This one's Thin Jim from lesson number 32. What I want you to know about this is a controlled text. What I mean by controlled text is that it contains completely fair words. Fair words are ones that the student is able to decode because they are closed syllables, or as in the word so, they are open syllables or other syllable types that are sight words that have been previously mastered or on which the student is currently working. In each lesson, there's a controlled text, and controlled text is wonderful at increasing the student's accuracy at decoding. Fluency involves uncontrolled text, and for that we need to use a different program because the Orton-Gillingham method does not address fluency. As I said before, it's just addressing phonemic awareness and decoding. I like to use the Read Naturally program in my lessons, and this is an example of a page that comes from the Read Naturally program. So this would be the first one in level 2. 2.0 means grade 2.0. And we would begin by having the student access some background knowledge. So I would read the title, Man's Best Friend, and the student might talk about the picture because students love the pictures. And then we go over the keywords, and I would read these for the students. These are words that might cause some trouble, or they're also like key concepts in the text. And we talk about the meanings of those words. And then it will be time to have the student write a one-sentence prediction. This is a great skill to teach the student, and we can teach the student to use the words on the page when they're writing. So if they were going to write a prediction, we'd teach them to say, I predict that. I, fair word, predict is right on the page, so you can teach them how to underline that part of the word so that they can write it easier. And then it's a right to predict. That is a fair word because we've taught the TH. That this is also a fair word. Is about might cause the student some trouble, or they might have done that as a sight word. If it is unfair, then the teacher can supply the spelling. Dogs. So I predicted this is about dogs, period. And then you'd check it with chops. And you'd have a quick discussion about dogs to activate that background knowledge that the student has. And then we go on to the text. And the first thing that the teacher does is the teacher reads the text. You'll read at a comfortable pace and try to not go too fast for the student, obviously. You'll read the whole thing, and then you'll discuss the words that are in bold with the student. These are words that will definitely trip the student up. These people who made the program really know the ones that are going to cause the kids trouble. So cattle really will be a blocker, so you want to discuss that one. And guard is one of the ones that were in the review keyword section. Then once that's done, it's time for the student to read. You'll have a timer, and it'll be a 1-minute timer. And what we're trying to figure out is how many words per minute can the student read correctly in 1 minute. Don't say 1, 2, 3, go, because that can stress the student out. So just ask the student to start when they feel ready, and then you press the timer. The student will read as many words as they can in 1 minute, and then you'll see that on the left part of the lines there are numbers, and that will help you to figure out your word count. Circle the errors that the student made, and you're going to teach those words once this activity's finished. And the student got to 27 words, so I marked off where they finished. So this is called a cold score. It's the first score that they get, and that's a true assessment of their reading level. So they read 27 words in total, and they made those 2 errors. So I subtract those, and then I get a hot score of 25. I will instruct the student to read this sheet once a night with their parents, and they will record the WPM, the words per minute that they get every time they do it. And what you want to see is a gradual increase. There'll be some nights where they're not feeling it and it'll go lower. But in general, we want to see a trend upwards. And then the next week, we will give them a new sheet after they had a week to work on this one. And what we want to see is that cold score is going to increase over the different weeks as we're introducing the new sheets weekly. And that is how it works. Another program that I use sometimes, it's called the 6-minute reading solution, and that's one that's proven to work for fluency as well. So the ones I recommend would either be Read Naturally or the 6-minute reading solution. I like the Read Naturally often because it has a reading comprehension component. There's a sheet that has questions that you can work through with the student as well. The only other piece that we need to address when we're talking about fluency is, what do those word per minutes mean? If you're using a Read Naturally program or a 6-minute reading solution, which are both proven programs, then they will provide you with a data chart so you can decipher it. The Hasbrook and Tyndall oral reading fluency one is one that's used by a lot of people, and I found it on readingrockets.org here. It's one that I use. And so if I was looking at that man's best friend sheet, what does that cold score of 27 mean? Well, the student is at level 2, and an average student entering the fall, so 2.0, would, 50th percentile meaning average, would have a word count of 50 words a minute. So I'm thinking, okay, did I put this student at the right level? Let's find out. So I'm going to give him a couple sheets and we're going to try it. And if I see that the cold scores are increasing, I know I'm probably at the right level. And then I'm watching for these milestones. So the first milestone that student's going to hit is they're going to reach 50 words a minute on a cold score. That's their true reading level. When I see that we are improving to a point where I should be moving up a level, then I'll move the student up to the level 2.5. And, it's going to be somewhere in between this 84 and 100 that we can expect an average grade 2 student to be reading in the middle of the year like that. And so that's why this chart is valuable. It helps me to know what the numbers mean. When you purchase either into the Read Naturally program or the 6-minute reading solution, there's a lot more specific detail into those two things. You'll need your top 160 sight word list, the sight word study method instruction sheet, the card pack on which the student's currently working, some blank cards, markers, a highlighter, and some pencils. For the short vowel drill, you'll have the teacher instruction sheet, the keyword pictures, and the keyword sentence. Moving on to the phonemic awareness drill, you'll need the teacher instruction sheet and the colored tiles for the student. For the visual drill and auditory drill, you'll have the teacher instruction sheets and the card pack on which the student is currently working, making sure that you are removing cards once they're mastered and adding new ones once they're taught. Then for the syllable card drill, we're working on 2 syllable words, and you will have them all cut out and organized on the table in advance, with the syllable 1 on the left and the syllable 2s on the right. They'll be mixed up, and then part of the drill is that they unscramble them. For the magnetic letter child drill for reading and spelling, you will have the instruction sheet on the table for the teacher and the letter board with the magnetic letter tile spread in a rainbow shape, making sure that you're adding those new graphemes as they're taught. Then we'll move on to the syllable pounding sheet, the kinesthetic discovery instruction sheet, and the sheets for the lesson. You'll have the single word list, the controlled text, which is the story, and the 3 sentences for the writing portion of the lesson. In addition to all of that, in the review part of the lesson, we'll be reviewing some of the consonant digraphs we've been working upon, and I will do them in the lesson, but you can have them set up on the table if you'd prefer. It's better to have the student have the multisensory element working there. Otherwise, you can just use me. Okay, let's begin with the sight word study method. Student, take out the cards on which you're currently working, and I'd like you to read through each card. When you get a word correct, you will put a check mark in the corner of the card. If you run into trouble, your teacher will be ready with blocking strategies. Then give your card pack to your teacher, and it's your teacher's turn to read. The teacher reads the cards, and the student writes them down. In the other corner of the card, you can put a check mark when you get one right, when it's been written, and then you can talk about which of those words has been mastered. If one is mastered, remove it from the pack, and if there's time permitting, you can introduce a new sight word. It's time for the short vowel drill, so take out your keyword pictures, apple, Eddie, itchy, olive, and up, and your keyword sentence. Trace the picture, saying the keyword, and then underline it and say the target sound. Itchy, eh. Do that as many times as your teacher says is necessary. And then say your keyword sentence, stretching out your vowel sounds. It's time for the phonemic awareness drill. So you'll need your colored tiles for this one. Your word is wish. Can you repeat that word? If I was going to put it in a sentence, I might say, I made a wish and blew out the candles. Okay, now I'd like you to build the word wish with colored tiles. Okay, now tap it and say it. Do you have 3 tiles down? One for w, one for I, and one for sh. Okay, now find the w in wish and change the w into a f. What's your new word? Tap it and say it. Did you get fish? If you did, that's correct. Okay, now find the sh in fish. Are you touching it? I want you to change the sh into a p. It'll be a nonsense word. Tap it and say it. What's your new word? Did you get fip? If you did, that's correct. Now find the f in fip. Change the f into a sh. What's your new word? Tap it and say it. Did you get ship? If you did, that's correct. Now change the sh into a th. This will be a nonsense word. What's your new word? Tap it and say it. Did you get thip? If you did, that's correct. Now find the I in thip and change it into an What's your new word? Did you get thup? Still not a real word, but that's what it was. Let's change it into a real word. Take a I would like you to put the right before the p in thup. What's your new word? Tap it and say it. Did you get thump? If you did, that's correct. Great work. You can put your tiles away. Let's do the visual drill. Teacher, you have the card pack. So teacher flashes the card and the student says the sound. In this case, this one has 2 sounds. What are they? Did you say th as in the and th as in thump? If you did, that's correct. Teacher, you can do about 6 to 8 flashcards and then come back to me. Let's do the auditory drill. This involves the card pack again. The teacher has the card pack and the teacher says the target sound. Student, your sound is f. Can you repeat that sound? Now, what symbol or symbols do you know for the sound f? Write them down and then say the sound again and underline. What symbols did you write down? I can think of two that make the f sound. Did you write down PH? And F is the other one. Teacher, do this drill for 6 to 8 flashcards and then come back to me. It's time for the syllable card drill, and your teacher has this one all ready for you. You'll tap it and say it, reading down the syllables in column number 1 first, and then doing the same thing for the syllables in column number 2. And then you're going to join the syllables together from column 1 and 2 to create nonsense words. The last step is that you can move these column 2 ones around to create real words. And remember to discuss the meanings of the words and try to put some of them in sentences as well. Let's do some syllable pounding. Student, this is where you stretch out your arm, and every time you hear a syllable, you're going to pound it out. Your word is pumpkin. How many syllables are in pumpkin? Did you pound out 2? If you did, that's correct. I hear the in pump and the I in kin, because we're listening for the vowel sounds when we're pounding it out. How about pump? How many syllables in that one? Did you say 1? If you did, that's correct. How about magnetic? Let's see. Magnetic. So I get 3 there. And let's try one more. How about limit? Did you pound out 2? If you did, that's correct. We've been talking about times where 2 consonants are side by side, and instead of blending together as we would expect them to do, they are making a brand new sound. Do you remember the 2 sounds that TH can make? It has a motor on and a motor off. The motor on sound is th, as in then. Th. Can you make that sound? And then let's turn the motor off and do its motor off sound. Th, as in thump. Th. Can you make that sound? Let's do a blending drill. Actually, we'll do several blending drills to review the sounds of TH. If your teacher has this set up on the table, then you can just fast forward through this part of the video, and otherwise stay with me and we'll do it together. Let's do the magnetic letter tile drill for reading. Student, do you have your board ready with all your letter tiles spread in a rainbow shape? Well, your first sound is T. Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile for T and pull it to the middle. Your next sound is Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Your next sound is ah. Can you repeat that sound? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Your last sound is sh. Can you repeat that sound? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Now tap it and say it. What's your word? Did you get trash? If you did, that's right. Okay, put your tiles away and get ready for a new word. Your first sound is W. Can you repeat that sound? Now I'm going to give you a clue. This W is used for question words. So find the correct tile or tiles and pull them to the middle. Now, the next sound is eh. Can you repeat that sound? Find the correct tile for eh and pull it to the middle. The last sound is Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Tap it and say it. Did you get when, as in when will you go there? If you did, that's correct. Teacher, if you have time, then you can do a third word for this drill. And if not, then move on to the single word list and have the student read through those words and then read the story, the controlled text story. Let's do the magnetic letter tile drill for spelling. So you'll need your board again. Your word is crash. Can you repeat that word? Okay, let's use it in a sentence. Let's see. The boy will crash the toy train. What was your sentence? All right, what's the first sound that you hear in crash? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. What's the next sound that you hear in crash? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. What's the next sound that you hear in crash? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. And what's the last sound that you hear in crash? Find the correct tile or tiles and pull them to the middle. Okay, now tap it and say it. Did you get C-R-A-S-H? If you did, that's correct. Good job. Put your tiles away and get ready for a new word. Your word is graph. Can you repeat that word? I might use it in a sentence by saying, I will chart my results by making a graph. Can you make a sentence that uses the word graph? Okay, I'm going to tell you that the F in graph is a Greek symbol. That's my clue. So what's the first sound that you hear in graph? Okay, find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. And what's the next sound that you hear in graph? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. What's the next sound that you hear in graph? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. And what's the last sound that you hear in graph? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Now tap it and say it. Did you get G-R-A-P-H? If you did, that's correct. Good job. Teacher, if there's time, you could do another word for this magnetic letter tile for spelling drill. And if not, let's move on to writing some single words. Student, you need a lined paper and a pencil, and you're going to have a choice. You can tap it out, or you can trace it on your body, and you'll say the sounds either way. And then once you've done that, you can write it down with your pencil. Remember that we tap it, then we grab it and say the whole word, and then we write it down. Or we trace it, saying the sounds as we do it. Grab the whole word, say it, and write it down. So your word is chip. Can you repeat that word? I might say, I will eat a chip. Okay, tap it or trace it, saying the sounds. Grab the whole word and say it, and then write it down. Teacher checks the work. And let's try another one. Student, your word is rash. Can you repeat that word? We might say, I have a rash on my arm. Okay. Now I'd like you to tap those sounds or say those sounds and trace it. And then grab the whole word, say the whole word, and write it down. Rash. Did you get R-A-S-H? If you did, that's correct. Okay, teacher, if you would like, you can do a few more words if there's time permitting. Otherwise, move on to the sentences. We've got 3 sentences, and the student will choose 2 that are to be written. After a sentence is written, the student will check the work by using chops. This was a review lesson talking about those sounds, those times when 2 consonants are going side by side in a word, but instead of making a blend, they make a brand new sound. TH is one such combination. What are the two sounds of TH? Did you say th and th? If you did, that's correct. Here's another time that two consonants are side by side, but they make unexpected sounds. CH can make 3 different sounds. Could you tell your teacher the 3 sounds it can make? Did you say ch as in chip, k as in school, or sh as in machine? If you did, that's right. And ch is by far the most common sound of CH. How about WH? WH has 2 sounds. Could you name them? WH can say w as in the W sound or h as in the H sound. And usually it's that W sound that is the one that we get. But there are some words like whole. I would like the whole pizza that use the sound of WH. And this one only has 1 sound. What is it? This one says shh. And the last one that we did was PH, which is often used in Greek words. What sound does it make? It says f. Great work today. That's the end of lesson 33. This is Shawna Odette from the Flying Cat Academy.